Welcome back everyone to the Two-Headed Wolf Gaming channel, last Epoch and our Sentinel as we're about to ascend into the Paladin Mastery. There's still a lot of farming to do, but I had to start the episode right here because look at that. That is an absolutely amazing view if I've ever seen one. Epic, absolutely epic. I thought I couldn't miss this in a video, so I had to show it off. And we're just about to pick out our mastery. Right here, talk to the elder. Paladin, a righteous warrior focused on empowering and healing their allies who can take down swaths of enemy with holy fire. Passive bonuses, you deal increased fire, lightning and physical damage equal to your percent health remaining, 1% increased healing effectiveness per point of attunement, and unlock the skill Holy Aura. But we're gonna take a look at these as soon as I'm done with farming. So in editing form, I'll see you in 3 seconds. The farming session has been completed and it has been quite fruitful. I ended the last episode at level 14, going towards level 15. Now I'm on level 23, but I've also started hitting a wall. Basically, I'm not doing enough damage to enemies to take them out quick enough, and thus mobs of enemies are gathering more often because of this high survivability rate, and thus I'm starting to also feel quite vulnerable because I'm taking a lot of damage from multiple sources. So it felt like the perfect moment to stop. We need to spend the passive skill points, upgrade our active skills, and also change our equipment and test how the build feels at this moment. We'll start with gear for now. There's not huge upgrades. I've mostly been saving up on gear that offers us some melee attack speed, maybe some resistances, a bit more armor. As you can see here, are these bracers better? Well, they have more armor, they have some increased health regeneration and some melee attack speed. Is it better than 13% elemental resistance? I don't know. To me, it feels like it does. So we're gonna throw those in and replace the gloves. We have over here a Pyromancer Heretical Script of Life, offering us 25 health, 21% increased fire damage, a bit of extra armor, 10%, and that sounds pretty good. It feels like we're growing a bit more tanky. We have a better armor over here, we're gonna change it, it's looking pretty good. Better boost, a bit more speed, some physical and fire resistance, extra armor, a better shield overall, offering us 92 armor on top of block effectiveness and block chance. Then I have this mace, which I slightly forged, but there was not much I could do. I started with melee cold damage, which is not exactly what I'm going for. I feel like I'm going a lot more into fire damage, and we shall see why that is during this episode. But it's still an upgrade than over our current club, so that feels pretty good. A slightly interesting belt. It's not for us. It's a belt which is part of a set. Having multiple items from this particular set equipped will give you extra bonuses. This seems to be for a necromancer. It's not something that we will use, unfortunately, on this build, but we will stash it and bring it out at a later date. This one offers extra minion damage, some extra fire damage for minions, plus fire resistance. If you have 2 pieces of this set, there's a 5% chance to replenish 1 potion when Bone Golem hits an enemy. Sounds pretty good. Your summon skeleton spells and attack deal 42 fire, cold or lightning damage. The element selected is your lowest elemental resistance. So overall a very interesting item to try out later on. I've also unlocked a little bit more space in the idle section. I had this equipped with 9% chance to ignite on hit, and we also had this one with 6 health on kill, 9% increased physical damage. I found this idle, which has 10% increased chance to ignite on hit, 70% more fire damage, and I felt like this was a good replacement for what we had already. The rest of the equipment doesn't really matter that much. Let's go now into passives, because one of the big things which happened at the beginning of this episode is that we have ascended. I have removed the points here. I have respect from armor clad to fearless. I looked at this and I realized that having 2 points invested in armor clad, that offered us only 30 armor, which is not super impressive. The 4% reduced damage from nearby enemies, that was a bit more important. And I guess later on in the game, 2% or 4% is actually quite a high level of damage that we are removing. However, for right now, I feel like increased health regeneration is actually going to help us more. In order to get to the Paladin Mastery, we will need to spend 20 points in the Sentinel Mastery. So we're gonna do that. Right now, I'm gonna throw another point here in Relentless, increasing the damage by another 5%. And after which, I am going to be investing into health regeneration. And here we have unlocked a new level of skills. Gladiator. You can dual wield melee weapons by equipping a sword in your offhand. You take more damage while dual wielding. This has given me a new idea for a build. We will talk about it once we're done with focusing on our current build. But we can go dual wield on this, which is awesome. Or we could go axe thrower. Whenever you hit an enemy, you have the chance to throw an axe at the nearest enemy, dealing physical damage to all enemies in its path. This effect has 1 second cooldown. So we can also throw an axe. We've also unlocked the smite skill. Smites a target enemy with a bolt of holy fire that descends from the sky, healing allies around the target for 60 health. If you are in the area, you are also healed. An interesting spell. I don't think I'm going to be using it on this one. I believe that what I'm going to do going forward is play melee, and I'm not going to go for a smite build during this turn. If we were to invest more points into Sentinel, we would get to Blade Master, where we get increased attack speed for swords and axes, or we could go with Mail Crusher, increasing damage by 12% for maces and scepters. Something to consider if we want more damage in melee combat sometime in the future, but for now, let's get into Paladin Mastery. We have 10 points to spend, and we're gonna have a lot of fun doing it. We have Unlocked Conviction, where we get increased physical fire and lightning damage by 4% per point invested. And we also get some physical fire and lightning penetration, resistance penetration, by investing a point in it. And we can do a maximum of 8 points. Sounds pretty good to me. Having 16% resistance penetration can cause a lot of damage. Then we have Defiance, where we get Attunement +1 and Elemental Resistance 3% per point invested. Attunement, if you don't know what it is, it shows over here. Each point of attunement grants 2 mana and improves skills that rely on innate magic inside you and your surroundings, such as Smite and Judgment. So if you plan to use Smite, you might want to have a high investment in attunement. It's giving you mana regeneration, and also it's doing more damage. Honor. This is something I want to invest in. You are less likely to be stunned, you have a higher chance to block hits, and you take less damage from hits that you block. It increases our block effectiveness by 40 per point, increases stun avoidance by 15 per point, and it's also offering us a 2% block chance. So I want to maximize this. We're going to invest 5 points here. We have 5 more points. We've also unlocked a brand new skill called Healing Hands. Heals all allies in a target area for 100 health and applies a Lingering Warmth, which heals 80 health over the next 3 seconds. The Lingering Warmth can stack on the same target. So this is something that we can probably specialize into even further, and I think it's going to be something that we are going to use. Let's take a look at the other skills. Phoenix Strike. Your melee attacks have a chance to ignite on hit. 12% per point. 12%! That's awesome. Then we have Divine Bolt. Whenever you hit an enemy with a melee attack, you have a 20% chance to cast Divine Bolt, a blast of holy energy that deals fire damage to a random nearby enemy. And I want this from the start. This is an extra attack. I want it. We're gonna invest in it. Valor offers us 15 health per point and increases healing effectiveness by 5% per point. Or we could go with Holy Symbol. When we block, we cast Holy Symbol, healing ourselves for 15 health per point. And I am going to do this. I'm going to invest 1 point in this. It adds up to what I was saying earlier, where we have health gain on block. We are also gaining health by attacking. And now we can also cast Holy Symbol, which will heal us when we block. So there is a chance that all these 3 effects can apply at once, and thus making us a bit more survivable, a bit more resistant, a bit more tanky. For the rest of the points, this moment, I just want to invest in Phoenix Strike. Getting 3 points at this moment is 36 melee ignite chance. That's quite good. We don't have any more points to spend, so we're gonna take a look at these skills whenever we level up once more. If you're wondering where am I getting all of these passive skill points, once again, do quests, do side quests. They're really important. Let's go now to our active skills. And we'll start over here with Vengeance. This is the first thing that I want to start with. We're gonna throw another point into Dark Duelist. This will unlock our Zealous technique, where we can repose an additional time after Vengeance hits an enemy. So with that being said, we need to change focus. And on this occasion, what I want to do is go to the right. There is this ability, the Vengeful Fighter, where we deal more damage if we are below half health. However, if we invest 3 points over here, we can go to the right to Blade Paladin. The damage increase from Vengeful Fighter node applies when above half health instead of when below half health. I feel like most of the time, especially in the way that we build our character, making it more tanky, blocking a lot of the attacks which we receive and the health regeneration is going to keep our health up high. And thus, I want to go into Blade Paladin. I think it's a great choice for the quote-unquote build that we're going for, and I feel like that is absolutely awesome. And then we're going into Shield Bash. As I said, I'm going towards Blockout right now to blind enemies as we're doing Shield Bash. So we're getting another perfect Bulwark and then Blockout. Then we have 2 more points. One of them I want to invest here in Cutting Edge. Shield Bash reduces enemy armor and costs less mana. We're doing Armor Shred per stack. This is not capped in any way, shape, or form. So when we're fighting bosses, we're doing this Shield Bash. We are blinding enemies, we are stunning enemies, we are blinding enemies, and we also reduce their armor. And I feel like this is very useful, especially when fighting bosses. So we're gonna do this. And then let me tell you about certain modifiers that we could do with the shield. We'll take a moment here, a minute, to go through some of the modifiers that Shield Bash has, just to understand how crazy some of these modifiers are. For example, we could go here, and I think this is the direction I want to go in, where double dash, we gain double dash, you gain an additional charge of Shield Bash, but it has a longer cooldown. The cooldown increase is 20%, which is quite large. However, we get an additional charge so we can do a double bash. Then we have Fusillade, where using Shield Bash consumes all charges and deals significantly more damage per extra charge consumed, multiplicative with other modifiers. It's 100% extra damage per charge. So if we have 2 Shield Bashes, that's 200% more damage. And I'm sure there are endgame items which give us at least 1 additional charge, if not 2, which would mean 400% extra damage. That sounds absolutely bonkers. But there are other abilities here which are also impressive. Juggernaut. Shield Bash no longer requires a shield to use, but costs more mana. So you can create a character with a 2-handed weapon and still have the ability to jump into the middle of enemies, shield bash them, stun them, and then do that high level damage. Absolutely a great ability there. But there's also an ability, where is it? Around here, Splintering Bow. If Shield Bash is used while you have a shield equipped, it fires shield fragments in a cone in front of you. While Shield Bash is on cooldown, you cannot block. That is a downside, big downside, to not be able to block while Shield Bash is on cooldown. But this is another way in which you can increase your damage. Or Incinerating Blows. Shield Bash no longer has guaranteed stun, but instead applies additional stacks of Ignite. All stun duration modifiers from these 3 are converted to affect Ignite duration instead. Shield Bash's base physical damage is converted to fire. Consequently, I'm too excited, should have more coffee. Consequently, this damage scales with increase to fire damage, but not increase to physical damage. So you can fully respec and turn your stuns into Ignite chance. So guaranteed stun changes to Ignite chance, increased by 300%. Stun duration mods go to Ignite duration, and the base damage changes to fire. Absolutely amazing modifiers. There's plenty more here, and all skills have it. I love it. So I'm going towards double dash right now. We're gonna throw in hindrance, which means that Shield Bash now also slows the enemy. We're doing quite well. And then as soon as I've unlocked Holy Aura, I decided to throw it here. Holy Aura makes us and nearby allies to passively gain 30% increased damage and 15% additional elemental resistances. Activating Holy Aura for 30 mana doubles the stat bonuses for 4 seconds. So we get 60% extra damage and 30% additional elemental resistances for 4 seconds. This is absolutely great as an ability to also tank enemies while dealing a lot of damage as well. So for this one, we started at a higher level. When I threw it in the specialization slot, I gained level 4, and you can see over here that we are getting accelerated experience until we gain level 7. That's a way in which the game is pushing you, even if you want to respec, it's pushing the experience that you gain for a certain skill so that it gets up to par with all of your skills, with the level that you are playing at. And what I want to do with this is that I want to go towards the right here with some extra fire damage, and then I want to go over here to get some poison resistance and have the aura also cleanse ailments. But we'll talk about this a moment later, maybe in the next episode when we get to it. Riot's Devotion. Holy Aura grants you and your allies a chance to ignite enemies, another 4% chance to ignite. Sounds good. Then I want to go for Burning Blows. Holy Aura grants you and your allies increased fire damage. We will need to invest 3 points here to get to the next ability, which is Flame Burst. Your melee hits apply 10 stacks of Fire Inquisition, and the melee hits of other allies affected by the aura apply 1 stack. If an enemy reaches 60 stacks, the stacks are consumed to release a Flame Burst, dealing fire damage to surrounding enemies. While Holy Aura is active, twice as many stacks are applied. The Flame Burst scales with the stats of the player or minion that triggers it. So this is an explosion, this is an AoE attack, and I feel like this is going to be great for replacing our AoE with Rebuke into something which is a bit more specialized. We're getting bonuses to damage, elemental resistances, and we're also burning the enemies which are around us, which is absolutely incredible. And then I'm going to go Inner Flame here, increasing the area of effect for this burst. And then we're going to invest into extra damage, and then we're going to head towards the left, but that is a story for a different time. I feel like we've spoken for more than enough. Let's get going here. I'm going to be replacing, I'm putting the Shield Bash here so we can have it activate. And then I want to throw in Healing Hands. First of all, I'll show off Smite. But remember that Smite right now is in a low level state. It's not specialized, even though it does pretty good damage, it's not going to be impressive at all. But with all the upgrades that we've thrown in, if I activate the aura now, as you can see, I'm pretty much melting enemies, I'm applying debuffs, I am applying ignite on them. Everything is starting to feel quite good, which is normal. And one of the things that you will see is that whenever we are fighting here, every once in a while you'll see one of these divine bolts just shooting out at the enemies. Look at that. So all of this will add up, and that's why we're starting to pretty much mow down the enemies left and right. There's a lot of power even in building a tanky character if you apply yourself the right way. We can also see these explosions every once in a while. They're like the yellow explosion. They're not red. Don't expect to see red explosions. Noble Sash. Okay, I don't really need it. I want to take this one out. We've leveled up once again our aura. And what I'm going to do is that I am going to increase the damage that we do with Flame Burst by 50%. That extra damage is... I am thinking that extra damage is going to be very useful, especially against bosses. As you can see, it's feeling pretty good. I can even throw a healing now every once in a while. So far so good. I've been enjoying my time in last Epoch. I expected it to be good. As I said in the first episode, I tried it out. I tested out the gameplay, the early gameplay as I was trying to record. I've also tried to play in the online servers in the first days since it's released. Unfortunately, you know the situation for it. But now I'm playing in offline mode and I could recommend it. I don't feel like you are losing that much unless you have friends that you like to play with. I generally don't play with other people these games, at least I haven't in the last year, because my schedule is a bit weird and I don't want to have people wait for me or things like that. Everybody's doing it in their own time, so, and I feel like that's better. You can see that even health-wise, we're most of the time doing well. I think something that is a bit more scary and that we have to worry about is those areas of effects. The attacks that are clearly marked on the ground, generally speaking, are doing heavy damage to you. Just because they're so clearly signaled, the game makes you pay attention. Defeat the temple guardians in the courtyard. Oh, a boss. Perfect opportunity to try our build. And look at that. Look at our health. It's barely moving. We're melting them. We don't need anything else to this build. I think so far we've built it the right way. Beautiful. I hope you're enjoying this. And remember, this is just the beginning of what you could do with this one. We're gonna continue our journey until level 35. There's going to be one more episode today. For tomorrow and the day after that, I don't think that will be the case. I think there will be only 3 episodes since we're gonna cut a lot of the early game. But there we have it. So now we have another passive skill point to spend. We have Blinding Light, where we can blind the enemy. We have a 5% chance to blind the enemy. And there's also a 2% chance we get a 2% increase in endurance. Or we can go with Heaven Fire. You have an additional spell damage while you have a shield equipped. I wanna go in melee. As I said, I'm not going into smite or anything like that, so we're gonna stay with melee. Since we're blinding with the shield, I don't think I won. Actually, you know what? Your hits have a chance to blind, so it's our normal hit. We're hitting normally a lot more often than we are doing the shield bash. So throwing this in also means that we are applying debuffs a lot more often and thus survive longer. That's pretty much the situation. If you're wondering what with all this dark thematic that you've seen since the first episode, we are traveling through time. This is the ancient era, there are dinosaurs and all sorts of enemies like that. Divine era, civilization has started to appear. Imperial era, haven't played too much here, I can't tell you what's there. And then we've spent most of the last episode and this one just going through the ruined era. It's sort of the end time. Such a satisfaction to see enemies die so quickly, especially after I've farmed for extra experience for so long, haven't upgraded the equipment, haven't invested any of the passive skill points. On one side it's hard, control myself to not spend anything. But the payoff afterwards is so satisfying that I feel like this series could turn into something that I want to keep doing, maybe even for other games. I am very curious to hear your thoughts on it, to hear what you think about this whole format, if you like it, or if there's anything that you would like to know. If you have questions about the build, or maybe you have questions about the game, let me know down in the comments below. I'll do my best to explain what I know. I don't know much about crafting, so I'm not there yet, nor about loot filters. I think loot filters might be one of those things that I'm going to start investing a bit more time into. But since I am doing this series on mostly early game, loot filter above a basic one are not really that necessary. Superb. I think we're heading towards a boss, and I think that as soon as we defeat that one, we're done with the episode. It has been a lot of talking, but I'm hoping that it's enjoyable. The way I'm thinking is that you're also learning something, which I would hope is the biggest value of this series, because the gameplay in itself is something that I feel in an episode it's nicely if it's in short bursts. I also understand the other side of it, where I've been sleeping or going to bed in the afternoon or at night, just throwing in a playlist where I see someone play something like Path of Exile. I understand the charm of that as well. But look at this boss. Just look at it. And think. I hope for some loot there, but apparently that's not the case. I guess it was the biggest boss, it was just a mini boss. Examine the breach to the lowest level of the temple. I think I remember seeing this. We need to repair this, and we need to find one of the missing orbs. And we are traveling through time, if I'm not mistaken. 12% increase physical damage, physical resistance, and necrotic resistance, health on hit. Maybe. We will pick it up when we return. Very close to the next level. I haven't really found good rings. This one doesn't seem to be one either. Okay, let's check the passive skill points. What are we going to invest into now? Well, I am going to go further. I think I'm going to invest 5 points in total to have that 60% chance to apply Ignite, and I think that's where I'll stop. 60% sounds good enough for me. I don't need it at 100%, not even close to that. That would be too much of an investment, I say. I guess I took a wrong turn. Need to go to the left, the max. Super impressive to fight all of these enemies and take them down so easily. At this point, what I have built has been a tanky character, not a high level, but not by having a high health pool as much as having good regeneration, with good block chance and block effectiveness, good stuns, right? That is something that we do. Good stuns which apply plenty of debuff, and fire damage. So those are pretty much the main thing. Some health regeneration. I think even the health regeneration is not that impressive. Let's see. At the top we have 437 health plus 17 health regeneration. 17 health regeneration is not impressive. I mean, this is 17 health regeneration, which is... it's not going to keep us capped unless we have high resistances. So maybe we'll take out the health regeneration from the story at the moment. We have a good health pool, we have good block chance and block effectiveness. A few ways in which we can have health regeneration, because that 17 is adding up to the healing that we're doing per hit, the 5 health that we're gaining per hit, plus another 15 that we're gaining per block, plus the holy sign which is doing another 15 or something like that. Going through time. Okay, we just picked up this gem. And I think I have to go all the way back now. So I'll put a quick pause here and we'll return in a second. The bridge has been completed. Let's see if we have a boss battle. Before we do that, maybe we should upgrade our aura as well. Let's see, over here, I would upgrade the damage of this, but I want to go to the left first. We need to get to Purification, where Holy Aura grants you and your allies additional poison resistance, 20%, which is a lot. Activating Holy Aura cleanses ailments for you and your allies. I'm not sure whether bleeding and poison is something that you can block, and even if you block, I think it still applies at the maximum potential, and that's why I want to go here and be a bit more defensible as well. I have to pick up 2 points in Vital Boon, where we're getting another 10% per point invested into health regeneration. That sounds really good to me. We're quickly going forward, and I believe we'll have a boss battle at the end of this. Maybe an actual boss battle rather than one of those mini bosses. So satisfying. And we've reached level 26, so that is great. I like how much threat those big attacks represent. Every time we see a big attack, something that is clearly easily avoidable, it does a lot of damage. So you have to play it smart, you have to pay attention, you have to do everything. I'm not gonna level up just yet, just because we're not in a safe area, but I am going to try to hurry it up. We need to close the episode at this moment, so no point in remaining. We've pretty much proved everything that had to be proved for this. I just want to see, and I'm hoping, and it feels like that is the case, that we will have a boss battle somewhere here. Yeah, the end of Ruin. Okay, so passive skill points, what are we going to do? Well, we're getting to 60% on Ignite. For this one, I am going to invest another point in Vengeful Fighter. That should give us 15% more damage to when we are under 50% of our health. Boss battle, boss battle, boss battle. Yep. Emperors remain. Well, as soon as we start stacking those debuffs on you, I don't know how much it will remain. Okay, that is doing a lot of damage, so we need to take out this Omen's Eyes. The rest doesn't seem to be that impressive, but we will avoid the attacks either way. We're still doing plenty of damage here. The Healing Hands comes in handy. Is that called a pud? There we have it. Easy! Absolutely easy. Just gonna pick up this equipment. I don't think there's much here that I want. Yeah, good enough for now. Hope you have enjoyed this episode.
After eons alone,
Three again become one. Hope you have enjoyed it. If you did, do consider leaving a like. It helps me, helps the channel grow, would be much appreciated. And until the next episode, the final episode of this run, I wish you all to have a wonderful day.